Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Strife. Strife Beta, I might add. Strife is a new Moba that has come out to the internets recently. It's still in beta, of course, so the full version is not out yet, which means that any and all bugs that we encounter in the game are to be forgiven, as they will probably, well, they should and probably will be ironed out eventually in the full release of Strife. So, that being said, what is Strife? Well, in my eyes, from what I've seen thus far, it is a more light-hearted approach to a MOBA, a more casual experience. This does not mean that its skill cap is low, though. This simply means that it is a bit easier to get into and to learn how to play than, let's say, League or Dota. That being said, we're going to play a match against bots just so I can show you guys some of the features that are unique to Strife as of now. I've played a couple of these heroes. Obviously, this is a first impressions series, not really series, first impressions video. So I don't have almost any experience with the game whatsoever. I think. Well, I do have experience with the game. I've played a couple of matches, but you know, I'm in no way good at the game. I think I'm going to be playing Caprice. I love how he said that in basically the same tone. Now here's a screen that is very interesting. Not the hero, whatever, but there's something that's unique to this game is the pet edition and companion. And when I first heard about this, I was very worried. Because I basically thought, yeah, this is where the whole of the game is. This is where the pay-to-win aspect may come in. But it really doesn't. Pets offer a boost in some way, health, mana, regen, ability, cooldown, or something. But they are very, very, I don't want to say insignificant, but they are very, very, sort of, how do I put this? Minor. I don't know why I was searching for that word for so long. I wanted to use a different expression, but a very minor boost to your character. It can be very significant in the sense of, you know, it can get you out of situations where you maybe wouldn't be able to get out of, but it is a minor boost nonetheless. So when we get into the game, you'll pretty clearly be able to see just what kind of game this is, and I will draw a lot of comparisons between Strife and some of the, basically the biggest MOBAs out there, which would be LOL, Dota, and to an extent, as the third-person MOBA Smite as well, if you have ever seen that MOBA. It is quite unique in its own right, and so is this one. Okay, so before anyone really tries and pins this to being a clone of something or very, very similar to something, this is a quite unique game and experience as we wait for the loading, which takes ages. Oh, and here we are in game. Now this is a post-game audio recording. Reason being, I wanted to focus a bit more on my actual gameplay and then do the commentary separately, but mostly because it's easier and it should improve the quality of both the video and the audio separately. Just, you know, having to focus at two things at the same time is a bit difficult. Separating them and doing them at different time periods is obviously a lot easier. Now, as you can see, the teams in the game are divided to Team Glory and Team Valor. This is done very purposefully so. It basically means that there is absolutely no difference between the teams, whereas somewhere in something like Dota, there is a difference between Dire and the Radiant. Here, absolutely zero difference. Speaking of which, hello past self. Smile for YouTube, yeah, whatever. I am not proud. I will scrape for views, even in random game lobbies. I am joking, obviously. Although the chat and the people I was playing with were pretty friendly and pretty cooperative. It was a bit touch and go at certain fight situations, but I don't want to spoil what happened. It was a pretty intense game. It was really fun to play with these guys. Shout out to them. Now, as you can see, there are 3 lanes. Obviously, most MOBAs have 3 lanes. There's absolutely no differences between top, mid, and bottom. Well, there are some differences, of course. As you can see, the 2 circles on the minimap in the middle, those are the 2 bosses. So obviously, top lane could get faster to that one, and bottom lane, I guess, get faster to the other one. Yes, but my point is that solo mid is almost never a thing now, simply because there is no difference between top, mid, and bottom in that sense. So having 2 heroes in your mid is completely normal, as is, I find, usually as is the case with other more casual-esque MOBAs that have come out there, and that's really the overarching theme of this entire game. It is a lot more casual approach to a MOBA, which works in its favour quite nicely. So while we're talking about the lanes, let's talk about the XP and gold gain rate, specifically last hitting. You share XP from last hits and gold with your lane partner, which means that no matter who gets the last hit, you both get the same amount of gold and XP. In other words, it's split between you. So I was going bottom here, and I was soloing bottom. With Caprice, you usually find that soloing bottom is, or soloing top is what you need to do, and as a hero that can fight in a lane, Caprice is really, really good in my experience. In 1v1 situations, a very strong hero as well, if you know how to play it correctly and engage correctly. Next would be, I don't know, what do you want to talk about? The map? Sure, let's talk about the map. You find a jungle, that you find that the jungle is pretty much standard, as in most MOBAs. The jungle is fairly, straightforward. There are weaker creeps, some tough creeps. You get experience and gold from killing them. That's pretty much it. Next, you have the 2 bosses, the green and the red circle. Actually, they're not green and red yet. When the map starts, they will be a green and red circle. The red circle is Krytos. Actually, no. The Sindara, I think her name is. Sorry, the names of the 2 bosses kind of escape me. You will be able to see them if you pay close attention to the game itself, though. Sindara, I'm pretty sure her name is Sindara, is the first guardian, and she guards Krytos. Krytos, when you defeat Sindara, you unlock him, and he fights for you in one of the lanes. His attacks are so devastating, he does damage to himself when attacking other creeps, towers, etc. However, when he does attack a tower, I don't want to use the word silences it, but the tower cannot attack anything, and is basically completely stunned and stun locked until he's attacked. While he is fighting it. So, incredibly useful tool for pushing. However, Sindara is extremely difficult to defeat and most of the time takes your entire team. 4 heroes can do it later on in the game, but it's not really worth it. 99% of the time you should go with all 5 heroes on Sindara. Although using one to act as a distraction can be very, very effective and good in higher skill levels, I suppose, but obviously this is a first impression series. As such, I don't have a lot of experience with the game, and hence I'm not at a high skill level. These are just my first impressions with the game itself. The second boss is a ghostly knight spirit figure. Is the best way of describing him. I do not actually remember his name, but he is basically, you need 2 to 3 heroes to defeat him, and he will simply give you experience and gold for defeating him and nothing else. Okay, that being done, let me go ahead and, now that I've praised the game for a little, actually I did praise it enough, let's praise it some more. I really like this game. The more casual approach is you can basically see it throughout the entire game. You know, the way last hits work, the way maps work, the way items work, abilities, everything. Speaking of those things, first of all, the one thing I would like to criticize is the movement. Not really criticize, it isn't a valid critique, and by the way, I don't know what Minerva was doing here, but GG. Okay, so I kind of feel justified in criticizing this, but you kind of get used to it later on. What am I talking about? Movement of everything. Creeps and your hero. It seems a little bit floaty, and sure, it goes hand in hand with the more casual style and feel of the game, but it just doesn't seem as sharp as good as it could be. I feel it's a bit finicky, I think is a good word of describing it. And Minerva's going to get herself murdered again, I believe, here. No, she'll just get away, learn a lesson, I suppose. Although that being said, if that would have hit, I probably could have killed her, but again, not a lot of experience with this character. Which hero I should call it. Now, so the movement I don't really like it, but I suppose I will get used to it eventually. As far as the spells, because I'm casting a lot of those now, I might as well talk about it. As far as casting spells goes, I adore it. There are no spells which you simply tap twice and they're magically casted. They're pretty much all a skill shot. You do have your passive on each hero, and I believe most heroes have basically 4 spells. QW, passive, and ultimate. As well as F, but F is your pet. We'll talk about that a bit later. There are obviously, and maybe there aren't any now, but I don't know, I haven't played all the heroes, but maybe there aren't any exceptions now, but I'm sure there will be in the future as more heroes get added to the game, but that is your general layout of all your heroes. Now, what about the actual pet? Actually, let's talk a bit more about skill. Talk about more. What am I talking about? We've gone full circle. Okay, let's talk more on the topic of the actual abilities that you have. Casting them is a skill shot. All of them, I believe, all of them. And it is incredibly fun to do. It is very responsive. Like, the combat in general, globally, is very, very responsive. It's snappy, it's fast, it's super, super smooth, and is just extremely fun to fight. The one problem I've had is, and this is not a game critique, this is my personal problem, is that I tend to lose myself in all the flashiness and stuff exploding on the screen, which obviously experience will change that, make that a non-issue at all later, but right now that is what I've sort of experienced this game a little bit as well, losing the track of my hero through, in some massive 5-on-5 team fights. But that's, as I said, experience will cure that eventually. And practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect, ladies and gentlemen. Remember that. Now, as far as items go, that would be my second critique of the game. I don't like the items. Well, that's not fair to say. There are some really fun items end game. Some really exciting items, and bearing in mind, before you actually judge the items and take that as a consideration, take them into consideration rather, bear in mind that this is a more light-hearted approach to a Moba, meaning that items aren't going to be a lot. There aren't going to be a lot of actives, and usually they're going to be a lot of just passive, static, regular upgrades with relatively important impact on the game, but not deviation from the items is going to change the game too dramatically. At least not in beginner levels. Obviously, you go to the more higher pro level and everything suddenly starts to matter, but that doesn't exactly count. I did mention that this is a more casual MOBA experience. True, but don't let the word casual deceive you. The skill cap here is pretty bloody high, and I've seen some absolutely incredible performances from pro players in the past, and some absolutely stunning moves from them. Now, let's see, what else should we talk about? Yes, the pet system and mechanic. Now, when I heard about this, this is where it sort of got me thinking, yeah, this is going to be the problem with the game. This is going to be its major issue, and this is sort of in a way going to ruin it. I expected that to be a pay-to-win system. I expected that to be a system whereby you go to Google, you type in best pet in Strife, get it, buy it, GG. No, it isn't. Pets are a minor upgrade to your character. Well, not upgrade, minor boost in a specific part of your character. For example, health regen, mana. One of them deals slight damage to your enemies when you're attacking them, but all the buffs and damages and whatnot are very, very small, and the cooldown timer on them is really, really low. Now, when you level them up to the maximum, I imagine their output will be a bit more useful, I suppose. Their buffs will be a bit more useful, but they are nothing too major. They can get you out of a tricky situation and, in certain scenarios, save your life. But they are not like a key major aspect of the game. They're just more there as a thing to go with you, make you not feel lonely, I suppose, and a good way to provide your character with an active. Thing is, you can switch between pets even though you're playing the same hero, which can cause some very fun occurrences, seeing how your pet may, in some situations, tailor the way you play, which can be quite fun indeed, only if you wanted to, of course. Next sort of important feature, not really important, but it goes along nicely with the more casual feel of the game. I'm probably going to say the word casual about 50 times, but it can't be helped, is the fact that you have your own courier. You will note that in the game of, let's say, Dota, the entire team has one courier, and that one courier has to be shared between the entirety of the team. Here, everyone has his own courier, which I think is really, really nice, considering what they're going for in this game. I think that is a very smart design decision. Now, I wanted to compare the game a little bit more to something like League of Legends, Smite, or even Dota. However, before I do any further comparisons, I wish to state that this game is unique in its own right, and it should never, in any circumstances, be taken as a clone of X game or a copy of some game. It is unique, and it has its own unique features and very good reasons why you should try it. For me personally, and again, personally, for me, the main reason why I will be playing this game a lot more is the more relaxing feel that you will be able to enjoy while playing it, because you will feel almost no pressure while playing it. Well, you will feel pressure, it's inevitable, but a lot less nerve-wracking than any other MOBA out there, that is, any other popular MOBA out there, like previously mentioned, Dota, LOL, or Smite. Next topic. I probably should have written these down, it would have made the video go a lot faster, but then again, this game was pretty long, and I don't think I can keep talking for 30 minutes about this game as a first impressions. Okay, I'll try and do my best. There were some other things I'd like to discuss, such as bots. Now, this was a bot match. Or was it? Yeah, yes, it was. But the thing is, you should really, really play against humans. I shouldn't have used my ulti there. I should have used it now, saved it up and used it now, but I end up getting the kill, so it doesn't matter too much. The bots are bad. Let's be honest, the bots are really bad. Here in this game, you don't really get to see it too much, but having bots as your team members is a disaster. Play against humans, okay? Even if it's your first game, I don't care how bad you are at this game, play against humans. It is a far more enjoyable experience, simply due to the coordinations that can happen, the mistakes that humans tend to make, overcommitting and such. It is just a lot more fun and a lot more enjoyable. Speaking of which, I wanted to discuss something on that topic. Now, the problem with these type of post video recordings is there is no pause button, so if I lose my train of thought, like now, I just sort of have to improvise, which is a bit annoying, but give me a second please. I wanted to talk about the player base. Yes, the player base. This game has a really good tutorial in the sense of it's fun, it's more of like an adventure than an actual tutorial, and it introduces the game to people that are new to MOBAs in general. And if you've never played a MOBA, this is a really good place to start playing, because it's a more casual experience. The players in it are generally a lot more relaxed, there's a lot less, apologise for the language, dickheads, and a lot less rude people there that tend to insult other new players, which means that you really should start from this game. It'll explain a lot of things of how MOBAs actually work, not just this game, MOBAs in general, which I think was pretty cool. And it's really good place to welcome newcomers, to introduce newcomers, a way to introduce newcomers to MOBAs. Okay, next, abilities. Well, we sort of talked about abilities and how they're cast and whatnot, but we didn't talk about one thing that I found particularly interesting about abilities, that is the damage that they do, or rather how much they impact your character. They don't cost a lot of mana, which goes, again, hand in hand with the fact that it is a more casual MOBA experience. Please, we need to make a casual word counter. I think it's over 9,000 by now. Moving on. They don't do a lot of damage and they don't cost a lot of mana, which means you get to cast them more often. That's great because that's fun. I mean, generally speaking, that is more fun. You want to play more, you want to wait less. More downtime, more playtime is generally a good way to make your game. Just a good principle general of making your game. Next, the ultimate. Every hero, again, almost every hero, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, there could be, and maybe there will be in the future certain special cases where the hero doesn't have an ultimate. Maybe his ultimate is special and worth noting. However, the ultimate of a overwhelming majority of heroes is, I should have really backed off here by the way, is not that devastating. Sure, it's one of your most powerful spells, it takes the largest amount of mana, it has the longest cooldown, etc, I apologise, but it isn't actually that powerful. You'd expect it to be a lot more devastating if you played other MOBAs before, and it really isn't. Same can be said for every other spell. You know, you need to cast them a lot more and they don't do as much damage, and your right click seems to be generally a very good thing to focus around, due to the fact that was a bad hook from Rock. But generally, you know, they cost a lot less, they get used a lot more often. You can use them freely on creeps with pretty much every hero, and that is fun. We really shouldn't have lost that. It was still worth it because we took out the generator, but it could have been a lot better, let's just say. We mentioned the items we get. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about heroes. Heroes themselves seem pretty unique, but take basically up to this point all criticism that I have made, take it with a pinch of salt. Reason being, the game is in beta, early beta, and there will be more heroes added. Heroes will be redesigned, their abilities changed as time goes on. You know, so what is today may not be the same tomorrow, and that animation is really nice there. And you know, it is obviously subject to change, but right now there are not too many heroes, but there is enough diversity for you to, you know, pretty much pick a hero that you think you would like, and you know, you seem to like that sort of play style. There is plenty of diversity right now for you to just get in and play immediately, basically. And should be pretty much it. Almost everything I'd like to discuss. Obviously we can go a bit more thoroughly into the gameplay mechanics, although I don't feel that is needed for a first impressions video. You can see right there though, but so I'll mention it if you paid close attention to the screen. We just activated a ward. Yes, wards are not bought and placed, they are activated. They are on the map. Where you activate them is you touch them. You basically get really, really close to them and they activate and they provide vision for you over X amount of time. This, and I believe this is the last time I will use the word casual, but this goes basically with the entire theme and thematic of the game, for more friendly and casual MOBA experience, whereby you take pressure off the player base in terms of, you know, supporting the team, buying wards, running around, placing them at certain time points and whatnot. I think it's a good design decision. Some people might not like it because, you know, they want to play a bit more hardcore-ish support role, but yeah, this game enables you that regardless. In a way that is more casual. Last time I said casual, I promise. And, you know, every hero, there aren't really defined roles like this hero has to do that and go there and buy that. It's a lot more loose and you know, more of a personal choice thing often. Not completely, but a lot more than in other games, which I believe is really, really good, especially in a game like this. I think that is completely fine, and it should be like that in this case. And that is pretty much it. The tower layout, I mean, there's not really a lot to talk about there, but you have two towers, which are just your regular towers. I really like the design on them, by the way, the cannons that rotate around. I think that's pretty cool. Fits the schematic of the game as well, a lot as well. And the art style in general, I really like. Again, the animations are a bit finicky, but they will change, and they can be made a bit more sharper through certain code and timing changes. You know, just change a couple of numbers, and yeah, there you go. You have a much more different feel to the game, which, you know, imagine they will tweak that in the future, obviously. But if you just take a look at the raw art style, it is fairly unique. It reminds me a little bit about English. It reminds me a little bit of League of Legends, but not completely. It's fairly unique in its own right, and it's quite fun to look at. It's very cartoony, and I think it just fits the game very, very well. And you have two towers. You have a generator which has an energy shield around it, which regenerates when the generator isn't in combat, and that more or less functions as your barracks. So shield, and it uses electrical charges to attack creeps and heroes, and I believe it does slightly more damage than the towers, although I could be wrong. I don't actually know the numbers on that, but I think that it does a slightly bit more, but I don't know. Another interesting thing I haven't really seen any other MOBA do is when you hold down the tab button, you get a lot more in-depth view of everything. So right now, so let's say you're playing right now, you basically see this very friendly user interface where if you click a skill and you don't use it, it will visually display how much mana it will slice off you. Now, it's very. This is why I said this is what I meant when I said it was very smooth and responsive. You know, it's very just plain out fun to use skills and you know, see the feedback like that. They're very fun and satisfying using them. That being said, if you hold tab, it will give you a much more, I don't want to say nerdy, but you'll understand when if you pay close attention. It will give you to the video. It will give you a lot more details as to how much health you have, numbers wise, your DPS, your armor, your mana. I actually call it power here, but it's functionally mana. And how did he run away? I do not know, but he did. So a lot more in-depth view of everything, and it will show you your allies, stats, and everything. Pretty much all the information you would want to know at any given time. there we go. That is basically all I had to say as my first impressions of the game. Not really a first look, but I suppose this is sort of a final conclusion to the video I can make here. What's the difference between a first impressions and a first look? Generally, first looks tend to be done with a lot less experience of the game itself, although not necessarily. First looks and first impressions do not mean first 20 minutes of the gameplay, or your first game. Those types of videos are to be called first game, or first 30-20 minutes. That's not first impressions. First impressions of a game can come even after 6 hours of playing it if the game is long enough and justifies it. So that is basically everything that is not a review is a first impressions. Almost. Generally you find that on YouTube. If it's not a review, it's a first impressions. You don't tend to find videos that are something in between because people don't make them. Does something in between exist? Of course, but you don't find videos like that on the internet very much. And this is very much a first impressions or a first look, depending on how you like to call it. The borders between the two are highly loose and undefined. The base is the crux as we're attacking it here. I don't know if I mentioned that. There's no need for the fancy name. I mean, there is, because, they want to fit the game very well and, want to give their own imprint to it and whatnot. But it's called a crux, and it's basically the enemy's main base, and when you destroy that, you win the game. Which, well, it's pretty obvious that we'll be able to do that fairly soon, because we snowballed pretty heavily. Now, I'm going to stop talking here, and, well, I didn't actually record any audio of the game itself. Reason being, if I did, it was ridiculously loud, and I just couldn't get Fraps to work properly with it. Fraps doesn't really like this game, I'm sorry. And if you see the freeze right now, that's when I alt-tabbed. I didn't know how Fraps would respond, and it should keep the game rolling right now, but it doesn't. Basically, I was just playing some music in the background while waiting to respawn. Apologise, I thought Fraps would keep recording the game and set focus to it, but it didn't. I did not know that, and there we go. Thank you very, very much for watching. My name has been Juggernaut. Please remember to leave a like rating down below and comment, as it helps myself and the video very much through the YouTube search rankings and whatnot. All feedback, criticism, and both positive and criticism is, of course, highly appreciated. And until next time, take care. Goodbye.